Now, after we moved to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, we found that life was more different than it was in the farm. We got paid more money and we didn't have to work from sun up to sundown. We got paid by the day, about $2.50 a day for working on a farm, chopping cotton and picking cotton. So what happened was, as my mother gained the money that she worked for in the field, we came there. There were these white merchants sit up there waiting to sell us something, try to entice us. Just like these people call you on the phone and try to sell you something on the phone and try to say this is for you, and they don't even know what you got in your house, and they don't know what you need, but yet and still they come and they try to sell you these things to try to control your resources. This is what they do. That's what these telemarketers do. They got the same mentality as these people we call peddlers. They don't care nothing about you. Only thing they care about is your natural resource. This is what we are today. Just like the drug dealers try to sell you drugs and everything, bring drugs to your neighborhood. They're sent there for a reason and a purpose. They are constantly seeking out the poor revenue that the poor make, and they take and use it to keep that man forever serving him. I've seen this. As God told me to write about me and my people, I have written 4 books. Excuse me. No one know me. I published these books at Trapper Publishing Company. I did the best I could. But I found out that everything is these things that I'm telling you that I wrote in the book is still in my book, and they're in there today, all 4 of the books. Not one person took and bought the book from Traffic Publishing Company. I don't see it. But when I look at the things, I see so many parts of this book have been extorted and been used by other people, but they've been used by the other people to enhance them and to make them prosperous. Why did I say this? God commanded me that I take and write these books. It was never my intention to write the book. God commanded me that I should write these books because I was supposed to speak to the peoples of the United States of America, to the rest of the world, and tell them the tribulation that's at hand. But how can I do this when the people's take and cherry pick the book and take part of the book and write them some and make speeches of the book, but they never go and tell them the things that God told me to tell the people about the tribulation gonna come up. And when the end of the day, the word of God go none back, because the peoples that took part of the book is taking it to serve their own interests and their own values. Well, God told me to speak to America, speak to the world, and that is that. There was a part in that book where I've written in that book, and I said the white man was using a form of intimidation to try to intimidate people by doing these things. Just like that man came to my mother on the Walls plantation and told her, "You children, and you and your children, y'all must say yes, sir, and no, sir, call me Mr. JP, or you people's got to move." Well, a form of intimidation. Well, in that book, I wrote, I said, Jesus was nailed on the cross and we was hung as black people through the history of us. I said the cross and the hanging tree bear the same significance. It was designed in a format to make us, to intimidate us, to cause us to fear that white man. I said this in the book. I seen, man, people made speeches, but there was other parts of this book that I wrote that they didn't touch it because they know that white man was going to come at them and going to wage war on them. But their faith was the part that supposed to took them through. But they took and used the part they could enhance them to make them look good, but they left the part out that was to glorify God the Father, and leaving that word that I had spoke about what was to come, none effect. That was another part. I looked at the conditions. The white lady fed us. There was a man called Henderson Holland who lived down there in Oil Timer. He worked in the fields as we did, poor as we did, and he took and he made, when we moved to Pine Bluff, he moved to Pine Bluff behind us. We was living on back there in the woods, and he lived up there on 13th Street, not too far from us. He moved close to us because he was our used car sale. Mr. Henderson Holland, he loved his wife, he was with his wife, and he had just as many children as my mother had. But I was a friend to his young children. There was no difference in us. I would go to his house, and his son would give me a piece of their bread to eat. And the house that they had, he built them a house there on 13th Street. It didn't have no floor in. He did put the uprights in the earth, dug a hole with a post hole there and put them in the earth and covered around a nice little house, but it had a dirt floor. I looked at these things when God told me to write this gospel. I wrote this in these books. The first one came out in 2003. Devil ran me all over this thing, trying to take my life. But I saying that it was no different in the black and white, but God had, the white man was using the poor black and the poor white, one against the other, to keep us separated, and he be the man that riding on top and be the last one to fall. I said in these books that there was no difference between the black and poor black and poor white. They was all the same. But the white man was using us, one against the other, using the race card to cause us to be against each other, where we could continue to serve him and his way. I said this because I saw there was no fundamental difference in the mindset of the poor white man and the poor black man. We all was cuffed and trying to make a day, and we didn't care about no black or white, because one fed one from his table and the other fed the other from his table. There was no difference in us. But the white rich man, he took and separated us from the beginning by placing us in separate schools and causing us to be enemies towards each other, not of our own will, but for the will of him, that he may take and use us as a refuge for his riches. I said this. This is what I saw. God forbear. Well,